Caitlin Clark, a rising star who transformed the WNBA landscape during her rookie season, has had enough.
2 years old, the same as her jersey, but those heels were right at the logo.
The breakout sensation who brought unprecedented attention to the league has faced relentless physical abuse and shocking accusations, from dirty plays on the court to being the target of baseless claims of racism. Clark's journey through her first season wasn't just about basketball, it became a battleground now. After getting eliminated in the WNBA playoffs, Clark has dropped a bombshell that will likely reverberate across the sports world for years to come. With every shot, pass, and dribble, Caitlin Clark dominated her rookie season, setting records, revitalizing her team, and proving that she's one of the most electrifying players to ever step foot in the WNBA. But despite all the praise, her experiences off the court paint a darker picture. From cheap shots and physical abuse by opponents to accusations of white privilege, Clark has been battling more than just the teams she faced in the playoffs. Now she's fighting back. And she isn't holding anything back. Caitlin Clark's explosive announcement. It all came to a head recently when Clark, after an intense and emotional loss to the Connecticut Sun, decided to drop a bombshell on the WNBA and her critics. During a press conference, she revealed her frustrations with the physicality of the league and the accusations of racism that had been thrown her way. The weight of being the league's golden girl, combined with the immense pressures on and off the court, had finally reached a breaking point. Clark's comments were not just a criticism of the way she was treated during her rookie season, they were a direct shot at the WNBA itself. "I'm getting hammered out there, and no one's doing anything about it," she said. "I faced dirty plays, physical falls that should never be allowed, and yet the league stays silent." The frustration in her voice was palpable. But that wasn't all. Clark also addressed the hateful comments and the accusations of white privilege that had followed her rise to fame. Facing racism and hateful bullying throughout the season, Clark had been targeted not just by opponents, but by critics who claimed that her success was due to her race rather than her talent. The narrative that she was benefiting from white privilege began to grow louder as her fame increased. Alyssa Thomas, one of the WNBA's prominent players, was among those who insinuated that Clark's meteoric rise was less about her basketball skills and more about the media's obsession with promoting a white athlete in a prominently black league. Thomas's comments sparked a wave of controversy and ignited a debate about race in women's basketball. Critics on social media echoed her sentiments, claiming that Clark's popularity was rooted in her race. However, for many fans and analysts, this narrative seemed to ignore the fact that Clark's performances were nothing short of spectacular. She had shattered records, carried her team to the playoffs, and drew millions of new fans to the WNBA, yet she was constantly criticized for things beyond her control. Clark responded to these accusations heed in her bombshell statement. "The fact that people are trying to discredit my hard work and dedication just because of my race is incredibly disappointing," she said. "I've put in the work, I've earned my place here, and I'm not going to let anyone take that away from me." As Clark's star power grew, so did the intensity of the physical play against her throughout the season. She had become a prime target for aggressive fouls, and it seemed as though opponents were testing just how much she could take. From eye pokes to shoulder checks, Clark was routinely subjected to physical abuse that often went unnoticed by the officials. It wasn't just about playing tough defense anymore, it felt personal. One of the most glaring examples came during the Fever's playoff matchup against the Connecticut Sun. "I'm out there playing my heart out, and someone literally pokes me in the EY, and nothing happens. It's frustrating." For Clark, this was a turning point. The constant physicality coupled with the lack of protection from the league had worn her down. "I love playing basketball, but it's hard to love it when you feel like no one's looking out for you," she explained. At some point, enough is enough for teammates letting her down. Despite Clark's remarkable individual performances, including a 29-point game in the playoffs, it was clear that she was fighting a losing battle. Her teammates were inconsistent, and it seemed like every time Clark pulled off a game-changing play, her teammates would stumble and hand the momentum right back to the opponent. Victoria Vivians, one of the Fever's veteran players, had a particularly disappointing performance, shooting just 2 of 10 and scoring a measly 6 points. Kelsey Mitchell, another key player, also struggled in the playoffs, managing only 9 points on 3 of 12 shooting. Clark was essentially carrying the team on her back, but her efforts weren't enough to overcome the deficit left by her teammates' poor performances. This lack of support became a recurring theme throughout the season. "It felt like every time I made a big play, we'd turn the ball over, miss a wide open shot, or make a silly mistake. Clark said, "I can't do it all by myself." The eye poke incident, the infamous eye poke, was perhaps the most egregious example of how Clark had been targeted. Throughout the season, Carrington's dirty play left Clark temporarily blinded, and yet the officials did nothing. It was a physical and emotional low point for Clark, who had already endured months of aggressive play from opponents looking to slow her down. After the game, fans and analysts alike were shocked by the lack of officiating in the moment. "That should have been an immediate flagrant foul," said one commentator. "It's hard to believe that something so blatant went unnoticed. For Clark, it was just another example of how the league had failed to protect its rising star." The financial fallout for the WNBA, with Clark now considering stepping away from the league. The WNBA is facing a potential financial disaster. Clark wasn't just any rookie. She was the driving force behind the league's resurgence. The Indiana Fever, a team that had been largely irrelevant for years, suddenly became the WNBA's most watched team thanks entirely to Clark's presence. Ticket sales skyrocketed with the Fever, drawing more than 15 fans per game, a 400% increase from the previous season. Merchandise sales also soared, with Clark's jersey becoming the top-selling item in WNBA history. But now, with Clark potentially leaving, all of that progress is at risk. Without Caitlin, the Fever go back to being a bottom-tier team, and the league loses its biggest star. One analyst said, "It's a disaster waiting to happen." The WNBA, which had finally started to see a surge in viewership and fan engagement, now faces the grim reality that much of that success was built on Clark's shoulders. With her gone, the league risks losing the momentum it has gained over the past year. The WNBA's response: so far, the WNBA has remained mostly silent in response to Clark's comments. League Commissioner Kathy Angelbert has yet to address the allegations of physical abuse and dirty play, and no changes have been announced regarding officiating standards. The silence has only fueled more frustration among fans and analysts, who are calling for the league to take action before it's too late. "If the WNBA wants to keep its stars, it needs to step up," said one sports commentator. "They can't just sit back and hope." This blows over Clark's concerns are valid, and if they don't address them, they risk losing more than just one player. They risk losing the future of the league. As Caitlin Clark looks ahead, the question remains, what's next for her? Will she take her talents overseas, where she might find a more supportive environment? Or will she stay in the WNBA and fight for the changes she believes are necessary? "I love this game, and I want to keep playing," Clark said during her press conference. "But I also need to take care of myself. I need to protect my peace. And if that means stepping away, then that's what I have to do." Her future in the WNBA is uncertain, but one thing is clear: Caitlin Clark has already changed the game, and wherever she goes, the basketball world will be watching. Fans are eager to see what Clark decides, and many are hopeful that she will return to the WNBA for another season. But if the league wants to keep its brightest star, it will need to make some serious changes, both in how it protects its players and in how it supports them off the court. As Clark weighs her options, one thing is certain: she's not done making headlines, and she's not done making history.
Hits her. Boston ties it!
Whether in the WNBA or overseas, Caitlin Clark will continue to be a force to be reckoned with. Caitlin Clark has undeniably transformed the WNBA in her rookie season, becoming the face of the league and shattering records both on the court and in viewership. Yet behind her historic season, she has endured relentless targeting, both physically and verbally, from critics, opponents, and even referees who have seemingly ignored blatant fouls. Now, after the Indiana Fever's heartbreaking playoff loss, Clark has dropped a major bombshell regarding her future, addressing the racist, bullying, and physical abuse she's endured from day one. Clark's skills brought a new wave of attention to the WNBA, boosting attendance, merchandise sales, and viewership. Conflict with yourself. Her play electrified fans, with many tuning in just to watch her in action. However, she wasn't immune to the darker side of the spotlight. During the Fever's playoff run, Caitlin found herself the target of brutal physical plays, the worst being Carrington's eye poke, which went unpunished by referees. Meanwhile, the media narrative shifted towards baseless claims of Clark benefiting from white privilege, ignoring her undeniable talent. Her frustrations with the league boiled over after the Fever were eliminated from the playoffs. "I feel like I'm getting hammered, and no one's doing anything about it," Clark told reporters, addressing how She's constantly fouled without calls after months of taking hit both physical and verbal. Clark's patience finally ran out. She announced her dissatisfaction with the league's officiating and the constant baseless accusations of racism. What really broke her: Clark has faced these challenges all season long, but the combination of the the racist accusations from fellow players like Alyssa Thomas, and the lack of support from officials reached a boiling point. She has always been one to rise above the noise, but now she's using her voice to push back, and her message: all she won't tolerate being disrespected anymore. The narrative from certain players like Thomas that Clark's success is due to her race has added unnecessary tension in a season where Clark should have been celebrated for her abilities, not her skin color. The narrative of white privilege haunted Clark's meteoric rise, painting a false picture that discredits the hard work she put into becoming one of the best players the league has ever seen. For Clark, this was the final straw. It's incredibly disappointing that my success is reduced to something like that. I've worked for everything I've achieved, and I won't let people take that away from me. The physical targeting didn't help either. The constant rough play was never